Another massive week in financial markets. Dollar yen, euro yen and sterling yen are flying around. President Trump got told that his tariffs, most of them are largely illegal, on Friday. He immediately came in, invoked a new rule, added 15% to the entire world's imports into the US. That's hit the yen. Later in the week, we get key inflation numbers out of Tokyo. It's the one the Bank of Japan watch. Markets pricing in a 70% chance of a rate hike from the Bank of Japan in April, with some of the big players in Tokyo still calling for a March hike. Hello and welcome to ATFX's Tariffs and Tokyo CPI Yen Preview. Today we're going to be looking at how the dollar yen, how euro yen and how sterling yen may trade after Tokyo CPI, taking into account updates on US tariffs. Expectations for that Tokyo CPI data. Now, it's not the whole of Japan, it's Tokyo, but it is the leading runner and it is the inflation number that the market and the Bank of Japan looks at very keenly. That came in at 2% last time, but is expected to drop to 1.7%. You would think that gives a little bit of reassurance to the Bank of Japan and then may pull back on those rate hike expectations. Those rate hike expectations, however, are still fully with us. Markets pricing in a 70% chance of a rate hike from the Bank of Japan in April and a little bit less than that for March, with some of the big players in Tokyo still calling for a March hike. What we're probably going to be looking at on top of the data that comes through is the wage negotiations that take place in Japan in the next month or so with some of the bigger players. They could have a much bigger effect on how the BoJ is looking at inflation as we move into that March and April meeting. But I think it comes after the March meeting, and therefore that's why people are pricing in that April hike. What will that hike mean? We'll look at the charts in a minute. On top of all of this, we have got massive updates on the geopolitical front on the last couple of days. As most people know, President Trump got told that most of his Liberation Day tariffs are actually illegal. He then invoked a 1974 Trade Act section to allow him to throw 10% tariffs on all imported goods to the US. He then found out he could do 15 and threw it up to 15. Now we're seeing headlines coming across. Uncertainty's massive. Headlines from all trading partners looking at better trade deals because the leverage that Trump and the administration had to negotiate previous trade deals has pulled back massively because they couldn't put these huge tariffs that they were threatening on countries. Plenty going on. I'll move over to some of the charts that let's look for some of the potential trades that we could be seeing in the coming sessions. Okay, here's the dollar yen daily chart. You'll all be very familiar with this if you've been tuning into us at ATFX. Should also say, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the button subscribe and you'll get all these updates on a daily, weekly basis. Everything that's going on in the markets and some that's not, I suppose, and some that potentially could. So this is the moves that we've seen over the last few months, I suppose. Massive appreciation in the dollar yen over the course of the last half of last year. Seen some good range-bound trading, sharp range-bound trading. This is when the BoJ, that was confirmed the other day, and the Fed checked rates way back on the 23rd of January. Massive declines, huge decline, 1.7 on the day there. Massive move down here. It gradually crept up. We saw other action not confirmed, I should say, 9th of Feb, followed by 10th of Feb. We found a base, if you notice, both times, around about 152. It has since rallied, similar kind of positioning that we're seeing previously. We are now mid-range. Excellent opportunity for decent moves to the top side and to the downside. So if we start to see more encouraging signs on the trade front, a bit more normality, less, I suppose, uncertainty, expect dollar yen to continue to grind higher. Resistance coming in around about this 156 level on the trend line resistance. Above that, we're looking at the highs up here about 157.20. Resistance trend line further above that, 158.50. Support. Now that comes if we see greater concern on trade, especially with regard to Japan, but generally in global aspects. Support now, we could see a move back down to these levels. Support now around just below the 153 level. Don't forget those 152 lows as well. Looking ahead to Friday's CPI data, it's expected to come down to 1.7%. If we see a surprise to the top side, this could really encourage the Bank of Japan to be looking to raise rates earlier, i.e. in March than April, that is currently more favorably priced in, we could see some strong yen buying. That could take us down. Coming in at the 1.7% or even below that 1.7%, expect to see yen selling, moving back up to challenge those levels that we've talked about earlier on when we were just chatting about the geopolitical side. So plenty of opportunity here. If we're trading closer to these trend lines, traders will look for break trades on those opportunities. If we are close to this 156 level, expect a lower number and then some yen selling to take us topside for that dollar yen move. We'll see similar patterns in euro yen and sterling yen in a second. Bear with me. I'll change our trades. We'll look for a couple of trade opportunities there. Okay, this is the daily chart for euro yen. I've shown, I very rarely bring this one up for you guys. So here's the decent move. All the way from March last year, we were down around what we're looking at 154, 155 level. We have had a huge move up to this high. 23rd of Jan obviously coincided with those moves we saw in dollar yen, 184. So 30 big figures, massive moves. Now let me bring this into a little bit more context for you and a little bit sharper resolution, I suppose. We've had a nice bounce off of this kind of trendline support. Trendline support was coming in around about 180.30, saw a low about 180.80. We're up to around 182.50. These are big moves in this cross. Obviously, we've got the euro against the dollar yen side of these things, but we do tend to see yen appreciation when things are not looking not too good. Flows go back to Japan, so euro yen could come back. That would come with increased concerns on trade deals. Now, one of the big trade deals that is being talked about and we're seeing a lot of press about at the moment is the European Unions. They do seem to be pushing back against Trump. That could see euro yen move in particular. Now, if it looks like there's going to be a bit of trouble, more angst between the US administration and the EU, expect to see a challenge back down to these downside levels. Support coming in 181-ish. A break lower really does open the way all the way down to these 200-day moving average around 176, the figure. Exclude that geopolitical influence. Look at that data on Friday. Interest, and obviously I should have gone with the contrarian view. Of course, things start to look better for the EU, a good deal coming through, things looking better across the global. We could see euro yen start to trek higher. These recent highs will be the nearest target. We've got 183.15, 183.05. Bit of resistance coming in there. A break high could see us revisit those 185.50 levels. Similar story with that data on Friday. We get a lower number coming out of Japan, takes away that rate hike expectation. We could see euro yen really move back up to that 185.50 level. If we do see that higher number back up to the 2%, 2.1, expect the yen to get bought aggressively, take us down to challenge these lows, and we could see a break lower. Here's the sterling yen chart. Very similar setup, as I said, to the euro situation. Low back here, this time in April. Low was down around 184. We've climbed all the way, yes, all the way to a high of nearly 215. Bare a cent. Or a penny, actually. It's sterling, isn't it? So big moves in sterling yen and big opportunities. So similar pattern to what we saw in euro yen. Didn't quite hit this trend line support, but we've got a few lows down around here. What we're looking at, 207.15, 207.40. It's hovering in this range at the moment, and I would suggest that we could break out of this range, similar to euro yen, this week. Keep an eye on those trade deals between the UK and the US. Now, I think the UK had a better deal than they're now being touted by the US. So could be some headlines coming out on that. That could see the move. Obviously, stronger for sterling, move to the top side. Worse for sterling, we could see a challenge back of those lows and this long-term trend line support currently coming in just around 206.50-ish. Looking at Friday's data, similar story. Bigger number, up near the 2%. Expect yen to get bought, take on these lows down here in sterling yen. Weaker number, locking in probably a push out those rate hike expectations, and then we're looking to challenge those resistance level. But as I said, good gaps here that could be filled in the next few days, whether it's through geopolitical or a fundamental data update. What we're probably going to be certain is that we're not going to be sitting at this rate by the end of the week. So good luck with your trading. If you need anything from us at ATFX, please do let us know. And thanks for tuning in. Thank you.